Hey Shooby-Doodlers, I've been away on holiday. I forgot to press record, so I'm going to have to start all over again. And what was it about? I am doing these kind of top trump kind of card designs. Here's one and there's another. So this is Archimedes, superhero, favourite saying, Eureka! And this is Ada Lovelace, favourite saying, math gives life wings. She was an analyst, mathematician, designer and founder of scientific computing. How did this all start? Well, about a year ago, Jim got in touch with me and said they were starting up a kind of a pop-up maths and science STEM tech resource thing to go into schools, and they could take in all sorts of resources the schools didn't have, and kind of brainiac teachers who knew all about it to kind of inspire children about maths and science technology. And they were going to call it Archie's Place, Archie from Archimedes. And they'd seen that I'd done a how to draw Archimedes video. And he said, could I do a thing about an Archimedes logo for them? I said, sure. And I said, did you know that I'd written a book about Archimedes? And it was actually different. It was much smaller. And I kind of done it as a bit of fun for a school that I went to. So I sent it to him. And he said, oh, we love this. You know, we'd really like, to have some copies to give away or to sell or something like that. So I said, oh, fantastic. Did you know about my Euclid book? So I sent him a copy of my Euclid book, which is all about geometry. And this was inspired by, actually it was about going into schools and finding kids didn't know about geometry and they didn't know how to use compasses, these things to make circles, because of the point, health and safety. We don't want children hurting themselves. So I did a whole lot of videos on my other drawing channel, draw stuff real easy, click here to see what that's about. And so he said, yeah, we really like that too. So anyway, we've kind of sort of been built up this working relationship over the year. So now Jim wants me to do about 10 of these cards we really want of famous mathematicians. And so the next one is Alan Turing. This is the next one for me to work on, and this is a very rough sketch. I'm not quite happy with that. This is going to be an Enigma machine that he's holding, and this is going to be all his computer thing in the background from Bletchley Park. He was the one who kind of broke the code of the Enigma machine. And so I sort of started doing some little sketches. These are some that I did 6 months ago probably. And now it's sort of coming back to it. So now I'm going to sort of share with you this process. And I started sketching just now. And of course, I forgot to turn the camera on. So I've started already. What I'm sort of feeling is that I'm sort of getting there. But I think he has this very long, I think his ears are really set far back. So I'm going to try this again. And I'm going to give him this kind of eyebrow there, and then he has more of a pyramid eyebrow there, and this comes into this kind of snub nose that he has, and quite hooded eyes, and we want him looking at us. If you've seen The Imitation Game with Benedict Cumberbatch in it, he plays him as quite a austere character with Asperger's and sort of autistic traits, and I think that's what they've really gone for. Whereas, in fact, his friends, I think, were slightly upset with the portrayal. So, in fact, he was quite a kind of funny guy, and they made him, sort of just not like that really. So I'm wanting to make him a little bit sort of more friendly, I suppose. And so I'm going to want the ear. So I'm thinking about this as sort of coming down to there, and then the ear is sort of roundabout like that, and then this wants to come around there, and then that will come there. This is sort of getting there. This is a little bit better. And what I could do is to pretty much trace the photograph, and if you look on Google Images, something like that, and sort of put drawing of Alan Turing, this will keep cropping up again and again and again. But I'm not wanting to do a portrait. I'm not doing a photograph. You know, a photograph, if you want a photograph of Alan Turing, there it is. And, you know, I could do a very faithful kind of painting and I could sort of trace around it and get the proportions exactly right. But that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do a cartoon of him that is going to fit in with this sequence of drawings. And I've got other people to do, like Fibonacci and, was this Linus Pauling, I think, and Catherine Johnson. So, you know, they've all got to kind of look like they're in a series. So it's not just a question of just doing it. It's turning him into a character, which is a very different kind of thing from doing a portrait. I think that needs to come around a little bit, and this is going to come kind of like that. That kind of feels a little better. And I think maybe the face is too squashed up and the nose is too too ski jumpy. So let's try again. And I think this is the thing about it. It's trial and error. That's a more human kind of nose, like that. And then don't want to come down quite so far, I don't think. And then we're going to bring this down to kind of up there, and this wants to come at an angle really like that, and then pretty well straight across, and then whoosh, whoosh, like that for a side parting, and then that's coming down. Oh, we need that hooded, don't we? And then again we've got this ear. And then that's sort of going to come around like that. And around like that. And now I think it's kind of there, but what is it? See, I have to keep looking. I think it needs to be more kind of that way. It is, isn't it? Because there's an angle going up that way, which is kind of minus, isn't it? And whereas what I'm doing is I'm doing the angle there, and the angle really should be more like that. So let's try again. So a lot of this is about analysis, and I suppose the more that you have drawn faces in your time, the more you'll kind of have ideas and kind of things to refer. Oh, I think that's probably too nosy. But what we need to do is to get, yeah, that's too nosy. So I'm going to start that again. Something is quite good. And I'm thinking, I sort of feel that if you're doing a kind of caricature, kind of cartoon kind of thing, then what you really need to be able to do is to have it as a kind of a pattern that you can do again and again. There's like a routine to it. So I'm going to do his eye coming there, and then this is coming out and down at that angle, so I can think about where the nose is going to go there, like that. So we need a hooded eye, and hooded eye again, and then we can have a mouth, and then this chin that comes kind of around like that, and then again it's quite high. The hair wants to come up much higher there, like that. That's going to come back there, and it's going to come down, and then we're going to want the ear. And that's still not right, is it? Because what we are looking for is the eyes right in the middle, well, they are actually, aren't they? It's not too bad. Actually, that's about right. So what is not quite right there? It's just still not feeling right. I think the nose is too pointy, so it can come up this way, and then yes. So I can't quite work it out. There's something. I think maybe that the ears are going to be coming kind of just above the mouth, whereas at the moment something is okay-ish there. So I'm going to come and do this line coming down there. I'll jiggle it a bit at the bottom, which isn't quite right. And then I'm going to do that angle there, and then this triangle there, and then a nose, which is quite, like I say, slightly ski slopey. And then maybe we need those as well. Maybe that's something. And then we're going to have the eye here, and the mouth. And then I'm going to try that. I feel this hair needs to come kind of up around about there, isn't it? I think it's that. Hair is a nightmare. It's really, there is never the easy thing to draw. So the ear should be up. There needs to be much bigger ear. That is looking terrible. And sometimes when you kind of shade the hair in a bit, it isn't quite so terrible. Maybe it's just too much under that eyebrow. Okay, so I'm going to try this again. I'll try coming down into the eye, and then in the chin, the eyebrow, and then that's going to come down into the nose. My previous one, because I've done a bit of, I did a bit of work, so I'm trying to remember. I've obviously seen things before, so now I'm trying to do that slightly separately. And why have I done? I'm drawing it like I did before, just to see if that makes any difference. That's there, and then that's sort of going up and back, and then this can come kind of up, and I'm going to draw in here. See, that comes around there. And that's sort of coming there, like that. So I'm going to come around like that, and then curve down to there, and then curve up. So the eyebrow is there, and that bit there. And then we want the nose to curl around sooner than that, really. Like that. And I think I can probably, yeah, put that right under there. And that is starting to look a bit different. So I'm going to do a little kind of a hint of a smile. Like that. And then I'll do an ear like that, and then this will come across to about there and around. This is actually starting to feel a little bit better. So this now then sort of comes around like that, and the nose kind of come around like that, and now I'm beginning to feel a little bit happier. Beginning to feel like a real person, and then that will come to there. I think that must come to about there. I think that's it. Yes. I'm sort of quite happy with that, actually. So if I had a jacket kind of coming down there, and then it needs to be quite a big chunky lapel for the times, the fashions of the times. And then, oh, and then I think he needs to have his tie at a slightly wonky angle as well, I think, just to make him look a bit more eccentric. And a jumper as well in there. I'm beginning to feel like that is something. So what am I going to do now? I'm going to trace this. So I'm going to go up and around to his ear, and then so this sort of comes around like that, and that's kind of there, and then these will then sort of flow around with a very well combed hair. We want that to come kind of like that, and that to come off there like that, and the eyes. I think this is something here, isn't it? It's with this, doing this carefully around here, and maybe a bit more of a curve. This needs to come more steady around there, I think, straight, and that's going to be there. Actually, I'm quite pleased with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scan that now, so I can just bring it down that little bit, because as you can see it's that bit bigger than it needs to be at the moment. So I'm going to scan that and work on it from there. So now I've scaled this down a bit, and what I want to do is to get him, in fact, I want him holding the Enigma machine, so I need to kind of draw a box like that. So this is pretty rough, so that's going to be coming more down there, in fact. So we want to have him look holding it like that, something like that, and we'll have him suit jacket like that. So I'm imagining that on this one, so where we got the whole of Archimedes here, then I'm thinking that this will be more kind of like that. And in fact, I'm drawing a complete fantasy here. So, so I'm going to want his arms to be coming down more down there, I think. And he's going to be more holding it like that, and it's a bit longer. It's a kind of a longer box than I'd remembered. So it's going to be there, and then we've got a. So we could have this box open like that, and then we got kind of the rotors there, and then we've got the little circles there, and then we've got the keys here, so we've got the whole QWERTY thing here. So it's a bit more complicated than I thought. Now I get more layout paper. You get my light table here to help me to look through, and so draw around like that. Well, that's gone a bit flat, that. I think I brought that angle around a bit too soon. And I think you want his shoulders coming down. And this will be kind of here. And I think it's getting there. So what do I do now? I stick another piece of paper over the top and keep drawing. So this actually wants to come back a bit more to an angle. Now I think I'm actually quite pleased with that. I'm not sure, I don't like this angle here, so it needs to come more that way. But other than that, then I'm feeling pretty good about that actually. And then this needs to be, so that you can see that's in a kind of a wooden case. So we have 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So these need to be a bit smaller, like that, and then we've got those on there as well. Starting to feel a little more confident about this. So I'm getting myself some watercolour paper, and it's getting this the right side up. That's it. Good. I'll get some masking tape just to make sure it's stuck down to stay in the right place. You may have seen my video recently about tracing. So what is going on here? Yes, I am tracing. So I'm tracing my own thing, and you've seen me work and develop this thing, so I mean I'm not copying anyone else's work, as it were. I'm going to bring that up to there. Okay, I'm quite pleased with that so far. So now I think we need to get this Enigma machine in. Work this down here. So how have I done this? Well, this is... if you've kind of watched all my videos before, you'll know. You know, so a lot of it is about boxes and squares, and if you've drawn lots and lots of boxes, you can just kind of draw these things without thinking too much, because you kind of get the feel for boxes. And I think this is some kind of matrix of wires and plugs going on in there. And then we have something going on here. Something about 10 things are going on along on there, which I'm not entirely sure what that's about. I suppose if I really did my research, then I'd kind of work it out. All those details. We give him a bit of a watch under there. This needs to be a kind of a hairy, tweedy suit of the period. I don't know if you can hear a lot of chattering in the background. I've got a family of magpies in the tree. Now we're going to want this switch kind of thing around there, and then I need to move that about there and there. So these are the famous rotors, and then that's going to want to come with a line up there. It's coming all the way down there. I'm going to have his thumb kind of showing about there, and then fingers holding the box down there. And then here we're going to want 1, 2, 3. We've got any other little dials. There's a little kind of a dial thing in there. Good. So now I'm taping this to a board to keep it nice and flat, because watercolour has a habit of kind of stretching out paper and it goes all ruckled. If you have bobbly watercolour paper and it kind of goes all bobbly and stretchy and doesn't lie flat when you've finished, then you want to stretch your watercolour. You want to stretch out your watercolour paper. So now I'm going to start painting, and I'm going to paint his face in a kind of, this is Naples yellow that I use as a base. So we need a bit of colour in there. That's much too much. Much too much, but then I'm going to work around it a bit. Just to so we want his cheeks to be quite so pink, and I think maybe it's all a bit too bright red. So I'm going to stick a little bit of orangeness in there just to get a bit of not quite sure what to call it, modelling, shape and modelling, so and then we want a bit under the chin there, and sort of around there, and on his neck we want as well, don't we? Kind of like in there. So we're going to want this quite orangey kind of word. Put that in the back there, so I can do that colour in the back, although it's going to get darker as I go over it, if like with a second coat. So we've got this orangey kind of wood, so I'm thinking he's going to have a kind of a greeny tweed jacket, and then the kind of outer part of the case, and then I'm going to make that a bit darker along the bottom there, and maybe there too, just adding a little bit of kind of modelling there and kind of in the corners. And then I'm going to make this much darker inside like that. And a little bit of kind of greeny grey blue shadow in his eyes there. I think we're going to want a bit of pink. This and the lip area. You've got some sort of shade along there, and maybe across there. He's got this quite brooding kind of look, so I might sort of get to the end of this and think, oh, that's not right, and do it again, but you sometimes just have to have a go to see what's right and what's wrong. And then I think we can put some hair. So I think shading in that hair, that really makes a big difference to how he looks. That's quite different, isn't it? Kind of adds that weight on the top of the head. The shininess to it all. Pale grey over these, because I don't want them being white, those little circles sort of standing out like that. So that's like an undercoat. Standard 1940s grey flannel trousers. Shade in underneath there as well. While this is still wet down here, then I can kind of drop extra shade and shadow in there. And I think I can probably do some kind of things here as well, a bit of shadow, gone over on the, I don't want it there, and that, put a bit on that side, and then a little there, and that's going to go under the green when I finally do that, the green of his tweed jacket. We want a little bit of something going on there. Oh, I think I need that to be toned down. So what I'm doing is I'm going to paint around these circles, but I don't want them to be too bright. I want them toned down a little bit. So that's what I'm doing. I think I need some more levels of shade. I think I'm going to need that to be quite dark behind there. And then I can just soften the shading up to there a bit, much darker in there, and then that will be probably a bit darker down under there as well in that case, and also under there that's going to be darker. Just like that, and then I can add a bit of clean water just to kind of fade that downwards there. And that now makes me look at his hair, and I think we can have another bit of a layer on there. Add a bit more darkness to tone of his hair. I think we can have a little bit more shade going on in there. Now I'm going to come around these circles. I'm not sure what they are. I think they're some kind of lights that light up in a coding kind of fashion. I was on holiday this week with my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, and we were nattering away about our childhoods and things, and I was saying, can you believe it? I was sent to boarding school when I was 5 years old. Yes, 5 years old. And I was talking about the head teacher at the school, and he and his wife were unable to have children, or they appeared to be unable to have children, and I was the only boarder in the school, so they kind of adopted me, and I think they must have been quite well to do, and eventually, just as I left, then they were expecting a baby, and they closed the school down. So maybe the whole idea of them running their own little school was a kind of surrogate family kind of thing going on. Anyway, I was saying how I remembered Eddie, who was the head teacher, so I suppose he was a kind of extra surrogate dad that I had growing up, I suppose you look at it that way. And they had these great big cellars. It was the most fantastic old mansion place that the school was in. These great big cellars. And I was saying how I remember going down there helping him make these maths learning aids, which are kind of big bits of board. This is back in 1962 or something. And so this is very high tech. And so he banged nails in, and around the back he attached wires in kind of random ways. And then you had to get crocodile clips and connect things up on the top. And if you got like 2 + 2 = 4, then a light would light up. But it was kind of just so high tech. And I suppose this is built on a similar kind of principle with the Enigma thing, but a much more complicated. And I guess Eddie was a bit of a do-it-yourselfer kind of guy and into that kind of thing. And it must have kind of rubbed off on me somewhere, mustn't it? That kind of, yeah, Eddie was the kind of guy who would just, I know, I'll do that, I'll make that. Left the school, I never saw them again. I don't even know if they're still alive. They'll be late 80s now, I suppose. I suppose I ought to kind of try and find out. That would be interesting. Might fill in some little questions in my past. So we just need this kind of tweedy green now, so I'm going to mix a bit of ochre in with green and ochre. That'll give me this nice. Oh, and I'm going to need more ochre actually, so I'll do a bit more ochre into this. Yeah. I suppose I could, if I was being really, I can't think of what the word is, stereotypical, I would put leather patches on his elbows. But that's a bit too far, isn't it? Really? So, there we go. And a little bit down under there. Oh, I messed up there, haven't I? I can always fix things in Photoshop later, those little messes. Which is a great thing about being an illustrator rather than a kind of a somebody who puts something up on the walls in frames. As an illustrator, I'm generally working with print in mind, so I know that it's going to get scanned, and sometimes with things which just don't quite go right. You make little mistakes or something, and then think, oh, I can fix that. Fix that in Photoshop. Never used to be able to do that. So what am I doing? I'm kind of adding a bit of, in theory, I'm kind of trying to add a bit of texture to this with a kind of, make it look a bit more tweedy, and I think we need to go more into there. And then, and quite solid there really, and then we go a bit lighter and more flicky up at the top. I think we need to go like that, and again here more flicky to the edges. You get a bit more darker and flicky bits in there. I'm going to have a little hint of a watch strap there and a watch face there. I think we're going to want a little bit of kind of shadow underneath there like that. And also I think these fingers are kind of a bit too wrong tone there. Maybe a little bit of darkness rather than colour there, and Maybe something similar around here as well. And a little bit of shade underneath the fingers. Right, there we are. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to scan this and send it to Jim and see what he thinks. And if you'd like to see a full-size scan of this, why not join me on Patreon, where you get so much more when you're following the Shoo Rayner drawing channel. So make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. And remember to keep drawing, practice. And I'll see you next time. You take care now. Bye-bye.